Right after I graduated high school, I went to our community college, where my best friend at the time and her boyfriend also attended, along with a lot of their friends, who I became acquainted with as well. Fast forward to Halloween of 2010, we took my best friend's little sister and brother out trick-or-treating, where her boyfriend ended up joining us. We were towards the end of the route when one of their friends from college ended up joining us, which I didn't think anything of at the time, other than the fact that he gave me a weird vibe. This should have been my first clue. After we were done trick-or-treating, we brought the kids home to go to bed, but my friends wanted to go do something to keep the night going. You know, since it was Halloween and in a college town, that's an excuse to party. Just like any other day, they decided on going downtown. But I declined, since I wasn't feeling well, which was true, but I was also the only one with a car and didn't want to be the chauffeur, and went home. A few hours later, I was in bed reading a book. I still lived with my mum and brother, and my phone lit up from a number I didn't recognize. It was the friend that joined us while we were trick-or-treating. He explained that he got my number from my best friend's boyfriend, and he was concerned that I wasn't feeling well and insisted on bringing me soup to feel better. Some sort of red flag went off in my head, and I didn't want this guy to know where I lived. So I said no. My mum was taking care of it, but thank you anyways. He got a little pushy, but eventually backed down and proceeded to send me many texts about how much fun he had when we were out, and blah blah blah. I later found out he bailed going downtown too, because he only wanted to go with me. He then added me on Facebook, went through all of my pictures and liked them. Second red flag. But, being the naive 18-year-old I was, I just thought maybe he was being overly friendly and was just a little weird. So I didn't avoid him or anything at school, since we hung out with the same people. One day when we didn't have school, he texted me asking if I wanted to go to lunch. I should have said no, but I accepted, thinking I was getting a free meal out of the deal, since he insisted on paying, and it would be a quick visit. We met at the restaurant, and sat down and talked and ate. It was super awkward. And then I stupidly mentioned I wanted to go to the mall to get some stuff. He insisted on driving me there, and that his mum could just move to the back seat. Wait, what? Apparently, he drove his mum's minivan, brought her with him, and left her in the car while we went on our date. I kept saying that she should come in and join us, and he got really weird about it and said she was napping and she didn't mind waiting. At that point, I started getting very uncomfortable. Luckily, we were done with our food, and I said I needed to leave, thanked him for the food, and got up to go. He kept saying he would meet me at the mall, and I was put in what I felt was a weird position, and I am not an assertive person, so I reluctantly said okay. We met at a large store connected to the mall, and I mentioned how I was here to look for a new scarf and started browsing. He picked out the most expensive one he could find and bought it for me, and basically almost threatened me not to return it. It was then that I wanted to be left alone, so I said thank you and that I was going to go home now. He insisted on walking me out to my car. We were parked on opposite ends of the mall, and his mum was still in the van, and I kept saying it was okay, I was fine. He was a big guy, and even simply walking caused him to break out in a sweat, but he wouldn't take no for an answer, so away we went. We passed by another shop and took a quick peek inside. There were a pair of boots that I very quickly in passing mentioned were cute, but I didn't know if I'd wear them. He bought them for me and did the same somewhat threat not to return them because they were gifts and you don't return gifts. Like, dude, then what are gift receipts for? At that point, I got a little firm and told him I wanted time alone, so please, don't walk me out to my car. He accepted and went his merry way, clearly happy that he had made those purchases to show me that he liked me. I went out to my car and waited for probably about 20 minutes. I knew what his van looked like at this point and kept my eye out for it in case he was going to follow me home. But I didn't see anything. I actually ended up going back to the mall and returned the boots and scarf. In reality, I didn't want either of them, and I was way too uncomfortable accepting those gifts from a strange person. I don't like owing people, and I had a feeling he was going to use that as some sort of leverage to get something from me. I took the long way home to make sure I wasn't being followed, and told my mum about what happened. She was concerned and thought it was strange as well, since he and I didn't really know each other, and it seemed like a weird act of desperation. I got a text from him a few hours later, saying he hoped I liked his gifts. I responded saying that I returned them because I wasn't comfortable with it, and he lost it. My phone was lighting up with a ton of texts. This was before it was easy to block someone, and I didn't know how to. The old flip phone. And he was livid that I did such a disrespectful thing. I should be thankful he got those things for me. So I got angry and told him I didn't ask him for the gifts. He basically threatened me to keep them, and he didn't take no for an answer when I told him I didn't want them. So essentially, he was the one who disrespected me. He backed down a lot then. I told him to stop texting me and leave me alone. I got a few more texts, but eventually he stopped. It was weird at school, because I kind of avoided being around my friends when I knew he was there. I still hung out with some of them alone, like my best friend, but when I knew a friend's gathering was going on, I wouldn't go. They understood. Now, This is where I got stupid. I am a very, very compassionate person, and 9 out of 10 times feel horrible for when I am mean to someone. Even in this instance, I ended up texting the creeper one night, apologizing for how rude I was to him, and he said he understood where I was coming from, and we had a normal conversation for a little bit, until I fell asleep at around 11 PM. I know this because I woke up at 2 AM, looked at the phone, and saw the last text I sent him was a little before 11, stating I was tired. After I fell asleep, he sent me one text, saw I didn't respond, texted again, saw I didn't respond, kept texting. We're talking on the verge of like 30 to 40 texts here. Called me from his cell phone about 10 times. Called me from another number about 15 times because he thought I was ignoring him. And then sent one last threatening message. If you don't respond within a half hour, I'm calling the police. I happened to wake up at 2 AM, which was an hour after he sent that text, and I flipped out, texting him that I fell asleep and he better have not called the police. Do you want to know why he called the police? Because he interpreted me saying I was tired as I was tired of living. He thought I killed myself. Never mind that it was, basically bedtime when he and I were talking. So yes, me killing myself is the most logical route to take here. Obviously. I ran into my mum's room, told her what had happened, and she goes, "For crying out loud. They have better things to do with their time. They aren't coming to check on you." I went back into my room, which looked out onto my driveway. Looking out the window, I saw a cop car parked on the street and 2 flashlights walking up the drive. They knocked on the door. I opened it, and I'm pretty sure the look on my face told them everything. "You Sally?" "Yep." "You know why we're here?" "Yep." "So what happened?" I fell asleep. The police understood and actually called the creep back and told him to leave me alone. Just as I was texting him to leave me alone, he then had the gall to ask for my address. Again, he had done this numerous times to come over and apologize to me, and that he loved me. I told him that he doesn't even know me, and he had absolutely no reason to be in love with me. His reasoning was that's how he worked. He fell in love first, and then decided if it was the right person or not. Dude was a loony. This put a really big strain on my friendships at the college. His story was much more twisted and painted me as the bad guy. And I ended up making a lot of enemies, even with my best friend, because he labelled me as an awful person. There was another guy interested in me as well among those friends, but he was much less assertive, and I didn't give him the time of day. And everyone believed him, even though at that time I had to drop out of school because that circle of friends was so big, and whenever the creep saw me, he would get irrationally angry, and his friends had to physically hold him back, which was a lot of people because he was massive. I have since cut contact with all of them and ended up going to a different school that I loved so much more, and am in a much better place without all of them in my life. So, creep from school, I hope I never have to see you again. Hello everyone, SinisterShaf here. This story was Stalker Caused Me to Drop Out of School by Solveta. Thank you for letting me narrate your story. If you enjoyed this video, then please remember to like and subscribe if you have not done so already. Also, if you can, share this video with your friends. You can now also follow me on Facebook and Twitter at SinisterShaf. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay sinister.